The worst advice I've ever heard for someone who feels stuck in a job that they hate is to try to figure out how to just live with it. People will say something like, just go to work for the money. Don't try and find satisfaction through your work. Use the money that you make to find satisfaction outside of your job. And they might as well be saying, I've given up, you should give up too, and why don't you just come over here and be miserable with me? So why is this such bad advice? Well, it assumes that your time at work sucks and your time outside of work doesn't, and that the two balance each other out. And this really assumes that your time outside of work is nourishing enough to balance the toll that your job takes on you, but this simply isn't true. First, a bad job is physically and emotionally draining. And if you're in a bad job, you probably don't have the energy to feel motivated or feel happy a significant amount of time outside of work. And many people in bad jobs, I was there once as well, struggle to find balance and to find the energy and kind of zest for life outside of their bad job that this kind of advice assumes that you'll have. And a lot of people in bad jobs struggle to maintain hobbies or maintain their social lives, and they can really just get burnt out and feel like they're not living a full life. The second reason that this advice doesn't really work out is that it assumes that your time at work really is balanced by your personal life. But your life outside of work is never going to be 100% satisfying or 100% fulfilling. So you can't just assume that like work is unfulfilling and then your personal life is fulfilling. That's not how it works. So if you're going to sign up to follow this advice, you're really signing up for work being bad 100% of the time, and then your personal life being good probably half the time. Like life is around 50-50. Not everything outside of work is fulfilling and happy. Like you still have to do chores and adulting and those sorts of things. So when you're following this advice, you're really signing up to be unfulfilled like 75% of the time. And so any satisfaction or happiness or fulfillment that you find outside of work just can't refill your cup at the rate that a bad job drains it. And of course, this is not an argument that your job should be like sunshine and rainbows all the time, but I do think that you can find a place where your job isn't the worst part of your life and you don't dread going to work every Monday and you don't come home from work feeling like you just need to go lay down in a dark room and chill out for half an hour before you can even function as a person. And so what I really want for you as a result of watching this video is to start to take the steps to get yourself out of this bad job and into a situation where you're going to find some relief. And I know it's possible because I was there. I was in a bad job for several years and I got out of that job, and I want the same for you. So quickly with my backstory, it was around 2016 that I started to not love my career. And then it was by 2018 that I really realized, okay, I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready to switch careers and leave this job behind. And it wasn't until 2022 that I was able to actually leave this job. And so I was in a job for 4 years that I wasn't loving anymore, that I knew I was ready to leave. And there were definitely times when I felt stuck, and what got me through that was knowing that I had a vision for the future. I knew what I wanted next. I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to have the autonomy and freedom that comes along with being self-employed. So I had that vision really fueling me. And I also had a plan to get there. I knew what it would take and what I wanted to do financially and career-wise. And I knew that once those things were in place, I would be ready to quit my job. And so those things really fueled me over the course of those 4 years to keep going, even though I did not want to go to work every Monday. I dreaded it. I was the person who would press snooze like a dozen times. I would get up at the last minute, like the very last minute, so that I wouldn't be like late or get in trouble for being so late to work. But I just did not want to go there. And so I know how that feels. And what I want for you is to get out of this situation as well. So let's talk about the advice that I think you need to hear instead of the advice of just learn to live with it, just go to work for money and get some fulfillment elsewhere in your life. So I want to be clear here that Nothing that I'm about to share with you is like a magic pill, a secret hack, or will magically transform your life, but I know that what I'm about to share works. It's what I did to get out of my situation, and it's what you could do to finally move the needle and get out of this job that you feel trapped in. And Thomas Edison once said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. And what that really means is you have to be willing to do the unsexy work. You have to be willing to show up every day and put in the work that'll get you to where you want to go. So the first thing that you have to do is make a decision. You have to make that decision that you're not going to just roll over and deal with your situation and cope for the rest of your life with unhealthy habits like sugar or alcohol or whatever you do to kind of cope with your situation. You have to make that decision that you're ready for change. Jim Rohn once said that you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. And what that really means is that it's up to you to set the direction of your life. And you can make that decision right now. You can make that decision that your direction is to stay in this job, or you can make that decision that your new direction is getting out of this job. And while your destination won't change overnight, your direction will. And then one day you'll find that you've arrived at a whole new destination. And I know that some of you might be thinking that you should stick it out, that you're worried of what others might think or what other potential future employers might think, or you're thinking, I've already invested too much time and money in this direction and I can't just leave this job. I should probably figure out how to stick it out. So imagine yourself staying at this job for another year. How does that feel? Does that excite you? Do you think you could do another year of Mondays going to this job? And however you're feeling in your body right now, that's your answer. And if that isn't a good enough answer, then you could think ahead, what would myself a year from now tell me to do? How might they view this situation, and what advice would my future self give me right now? So the next thing you need to do is you need to develop your vision. You need to allow yourself to dream of a better future. You need to look at your situation and say, what isn't working? And as a result of that, what would I rather instead? What is my dream life? And when I looked ahead and I was thinking about what I wanted, I knew I wanted control over my schedule. I wanted to be able to work from anywhere. I wanted the possibility of working only a 20-hour work week. I wanted the possibility of being able to scale my income without having to trade my time for money. Those are all things that motivated me, and that's what I wanted my future to look like. And I know that some of you may be thinking, well, I feel stuck because I don't even know what I could do next. And if you're stuck in a job that you don't love, then you don't really have that many options, right? Like, what are the things that you could do? You could quit and take a year off or take 6 months off. You could go back to school and then get a different career and a different career path. You could start applying for jobs and get a new job and then leave. Or you could decide you want to go down the path that I did and start your own business. And you could do that as a side hustle, or you could just quit and then start your business 6 months down the road. Like, you don't have that many options, but what you really lack is clarity on what you want. You have options, you just haven't decided what you want yet. And so you're saying that you don't really know what you want to do. So in this step, you really need to create your vision. And this is so important because if you wanted the outcome, like if you really wanted it, you would already be doing it. If you had that vision of your future that was so enticing that you just had to get into action, then you would be doing it already. But you don't have that yet, and that's why you just feel stuck in your job. And the pain of your current situation isn't strong enough to get you into action. And I think that we're really good at coping with uncomfortable situations, and we kind of just build our tolerance up for discomfort. And you may have coping mechanisms like when I was in a bad job, I used sugar as a way to numb out or give me energy or just emotionally cope. And that can get you through a lot of things, and to the point where you're like, I don't know, this isn't that bad. Maybe I don't need to leave. But do you really want to live like that? And so since the pain of your current situation isn't bad enough for you to leave, you really need something to entice you forward. You need something that will entice you into the future, and that's what a really strong vision will give you. And with that really strong vision, you can start to get some courage. because you really want that future version of yourself. You want that ideal future, and that can give you the courage to take the first step, or the courage to actually start having hope and to move on to the next step, which is to develop your plan. So in this step, you can start to think about what are the action steps that you would have to take and figure out where you might need to go or what you might need to do in order to finally leave this career. And again, this will depend on what you decided in your vision. If you want to go back to school or get a new job or take time off or whatever it is that you decide you want for yourself, that's going to dictate what your plan looks like. And I know that you may be thinking like, I'm not sure what the next step is, or I'm not sure how, or I'm not sure if it's even possible. And so one thing that's really helpful is to look to people who have already done something similar to what you want to do. And you can look to how they did it and how you might borrow how they did it and add that to your plan. And you also can look to them and realize, if they did it, then I can do it. They aren't different than you. They just had that determination, that vision, that sticking power, and they just made it happen, and you can too. And so of course you can watch more videos like this or take to Google or whatever you need to do to figure out your plan and just have a couple steps, enough that you can see that it's possible, and just understand that you may have to pivot along the way. But this step is really to get that plan in place, see that it's possible, really build your belief, and that'll give you the confidence that you need to start taking action. Once you have the first step of your plan, you can take the first step in reality and act on your plan. And once you're in action, you just have to stay in action. You have to be able to follow your plan, pivot, learn, adapt, and really just stick with it until you get there. And that's what this is all about. And I'm going to be creating a series of videos on these steps that'll go into more detail on each step. And so if that interests you, then consider subscribing for those videos and keep an eye out for them. They'll be coming out in the next couple weeks. And if you are ready to transform your career and create a life that you love, then head to the link in the description to check out the coaching package that I offer. So with that, I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you got something from it. If you did, give the video a big thumbs up. And like I said, consider subscribing if you're into more content like this. And with that, I will see you next week.